I'm Craig T. Nelson, and wouldn't it be great if yours was the only car on the road? But that's never the case. You know, technology keeps on developing safer vehicles, but the one safety factor that's beyond the control of automobile designers and manufacturers is you. We're going to put you in the driver's seat to see how you would react to some driving situations we hope you never have to face. Joining me on our cross-country journey is one of the hosts of CBS This Morning and a beautiful lady, Paula Zahn.
Well, thanks, Craig. Hi, everybody. We're starting on one of the most challenging roadways in America, the Los Angeles freeway system. It's a complex network of roads where a single wrong move or even a moment of indecision can spell disaster.
You're in the left lane on a crowded expressway driving at highway speed. The lanes are narrow, and the only thing between you and the oncoming traffic is a metal guardrail. The car to your right suddenly enters your lane, hitting your car and forcing you into the guardrail. What should you do? A. Slam on the brakes. B. Maintain your grip on the wheel while gradually braking to a stop. C. Maintain your grip on the wheel and move to the right. D. Turn hard to the right to avoid hitting the guardrail again. The answer is B. Maintain your grip on the wheel and brake firmly, but not to the point where your brakes lock up. Gradually steer away from the guardrail and come to a stop in the left lane once traffic behind you has reacted to your problem. Do not attempt to cross lanes of heavy traffic. Do not slam on the brakes. You could lock your wheels and skid or be struck from the rear by someone following too closely. Do not make a hard turn to the right, but get away from the guardrail as quickly as possible. Experienced drivers try to prepare for every contingency, including the weather. You're driving after a recent rainstorm. As you drive through a big puddle, the steering wheel doesn't respond. Your car is hydroplaning, a condition where your tires begin to ride up on a film of water and lose contact with the road. To avoid losing control of the car, the first thing you should do is A. Increase speed. B. Pump the brakes. C. Depress the brake pedal and hold it down gently. D. Ease your foot off the accelerator. The answer is D. Ease your foot off the accelerator and slow down until you regain traction. Avoid sharp turns or sudden hard braking, as this may force your car to skid. Reducing your speed on surfaces where there is standing water will help prevent hydroplaning.
Hi, I'm Tim Allen, and you know, I know a lot about cars. I can tell you about how the pinion gear fits in the differential. I can tell you about the cubic displacement of your engine. I can even tell you about the frequently neglected Canuter valve. But let's not worry about that now. You don't have to be a mechanic like me to do at least one thing to improve your car's safety. Good treads allow water to escape from under your car's tires, giving your car a much better grip on the road. Smooth tires, however, double the risk of skidding on wet surfaces. And you're more likely to blow out if you hit an obstacle, right? You don't want that. Now, if your treads are worn, get some new tires. Bald eagles are a symbol of America's pride. Bald tires are an invitation to disaster. All right, now about Canuter valves. It's actually a little valve that fits inside.
That police car is leading us to our next question. In any busy metropolitan area, emergency vehicles have a hard time cutting through traffic. Patients in ambulances or others awaiting help have actually died because drivers on jam city streets didn't know what to do when they heard a siren. Through the magic of computer animation, with no lives at risk, we'll test your response to just such a critical situation. You're barely moving in the far left lane on a very crowded city street. You hear a siren. Checking your rearview mirror, you see a rapidly approaching fire engine. You can't move to the right because vehicles block that route. Traffic stops completely. Your best course of action is to pull to the left to clear your lane for the fire engine. True or false? False. When you see an emergency vehicle approaching, you should immediately move to the right of your lane or the shoulder and stop. If moving to the right is not possible, then stay where you are. Do not move to your left and into oncoming traffic lanes. You might impede the path of the emergency vehicle, and you also risk a head-on collision. Emergency vehicles have the right to go into oncoming lanes to circumvent traffic. They have sirens and lights to warn others of their path. You don't.
Hello, I'm Annie Potts. 2 out of every 5 Americans will be involved in an alcohol-related crash during their lives. It happened to me when I was 20 years old. 3 drunk drivers drag racing down the wrong side of a 2-lane highway hit my car head on. All 3 of them walked away from the crash. I did not. In fact, I didn't walk for a long time. I was very lucky to survive. That's why I know the importance of this next question. It's 3 a.m. and you're driving down the road at the posted speed limit. In your rearview mirror, you see a car behind you, swerving and alternately speeding up and slowing down. There are several bars along the road, and you assume the driver is under the influence of alcohol. What's the best way to avoid this driver? A, try to stay as far ahead of the car as possible. B, slow down but try to keep the car behind you. C, make a right turn onto another road. D, pull to the right and let the car pass. The answer is C. When you get to the next road, which could be a driveway or other turnoff, signal and make a right turn. Try to get the car's license plate number and description, then notify the police from the nearest phone. Never try to outrun a drunk driver or pull one over. And if you merely move to the shoulder, you run the risk of being hit by the drunk driver because drunk drivers tend to focus in on taillights. Now that you know how to watch out for the other guy, don't be the other guy. Don't drink and drive.
Welcome to Aspen, Colorado. I'm Danny Sullivan, and I make my living racing cars. That means I get to face some of the most challenging roads all the time. Which brings us to question number 5.
You're driving cautiously down a mountain road in the middle of winter. Traffic is light, but the road is snow-covered. Your car has a 4-wheel anti-lock brake system, also known as ABS. As the car ahead of you rounds the curve, it fishtails and spins into a snowbank, partially blocking your lane. You're headed straight for it. How can you avoid the collision? A, apply brakes quickly, then release pressure as you steer around the car. B, apply brakes fully and maintain pressure as you steer around the car. C, pump the brakes as you steer around the car. D, do not brake as you steer around the car. The answer is B, apply brakes fully, maintaining pressure, and attempt to steer around the car. Applying brakes fully will activate the anti-lock system when the wheels begin to lock. Slamming on the brakes and then releasing them, as well as not applying your brakes at all, will not help reduce your speed. Pumping anti-lock brakes reduces the effectiveness of the anti-lock brake system and may even increase your stopping distance.
If you have an older car or one without ABS, the best way to make a controlled stop is to use the threshold or squeeze braking technique.
Apply the brakes firmly but short of wheel lockup. Keep the heel of your foot on the floor and use your toes to apply firm and steady pressure to the brake pedal.
Having ABS can be a great help when you know how to use it. Your owner's manual can show you how. But even with ABS, you should drive with caution.
Now we'll look at a question that deals with the other guy and what you can do to handle that. You're traveling down a busy 2-lane street. As you approach an intersection, an oncoming car suddenly makes an unsignaled left turn in front of the car ahead of you. The car ahead of you slams on the brakes. You hit your brakes hard, but it is too late. Your car rams into the back of the car in front of you. What could you have done to avoid this crash? A, allowed more space between you and the vehicle in front of you. B, swerved to the left. C, swerved to the right. D, there was nothing you could have done to avoid the collision. The answer is A. Whenever you drive in traffic, allow plenty of distance between your vehicle and the one ahead. Space allows you time to stop safely if the other driver suddenly brakes.
Our next question deals with a risk that incredibly many people take for granted, although it places them in tremendous danger. Here you are. You're driving down a country road and you see a sign telling you there are railroad tracks ahead. You do not see any flashing red warning lights or gate down to indicate the presence of a train. True or false? It is safe to proceed at the posted speed limit. False. Less than 1/3 of all public highway rail grade crossings have flashing lights or gates to actively warn motorists a train is approaching. At most crossings, signs and pavement markings warn motorists only that they are approaching a highway rail crossing. It is a motorist's responsibility to prevent crashes by slowing down or stopping. A train always has the right of way.
All road signs are coded by color, so if you know what the color signifies, you can grasp the general purpose of the sign before you're actually close enough to read it. Let's test your knowledge of road signs now. On one side of your screen will show you the colors of the signs. On the other side, you'll see their purpose. Try to match the color with the correct purpose. Let's see how you did. The color red forbids certain actions. For instance, it tells you when to stop or not to enter. Orange indicates there's road maintenance going on. Blue signifies services such as gas, food, or lodging. Green signs are guides to exits and directions. Yellow signs are general warnings that could include pedestrian crossings or icy roads.
Here's another question every driver ought to be able to answer before getting behind the wheel. You are driving in the right turn only lane on a busy street. You are not required to put on your right turn signal since it is obvious which way you are turning. True or false? False. You must always signal a change in direction. This can alert pedestrians as well as vehicles. Failing to signal is a ticketable offense. Most states require a signal for at least 100 feet prior to any change in direction.
Probably won't face anything that absurd, but driver confusion at intersections happens in every big city. You are traveling down a major street. As you approach a mildly busy intersection, you notice the traffic signal is not functioning. A car on your right in the intersecting street is approaching the intersection at the same time. Which of the following is the proper way for you to proceed through the intersection? A. Stop and yield the right-of-way to the car on your right in the intersecting street. B. Slow down and proceed through the intersection since you are on the major street. C. Slow down, honk your horn, and carefully proceed through the intersection. D. Stop at the intersection and let all cross-traffic pass before you proceed. The answer is A. You should treat the intersection as if it were a four-way stop. Use the right-hand rule, which states that if two cars arrive in an intersection at the same time, the car to your right always has the right-of-way.
On the racetrack, drivers understand that there are certain rules about sharing the road. But it's far more bewildering on streets and highways where cars have to share the road with all kinds of vehicles, including big and bulky trucks. You're following a tractor-trailer on a busy two-lane highway. You want to pass. Which of the following is unsafe to do when passing trucks? A. Before driving into the passing lane, pull up as close as possible to the truck to shorten the length of the pass. B. Complete your pass as quickly as possible. C. After passing, do not move directly ahead of the truck until you can see the front of the truck in your rearview mirror. D. Allow extra time and distance for passing a truck with multiple trailers. Remember, the question is, which is unsafe to do? The answer is A. You should never drive too closely behind a truck because a truck has a blind spot of up to 200 feet immediately behind it. Make sure you are far enough behind the truck for the driver to see you in the truck's side mirrors. If you can't see the truck's mirrors, the truck driver probably can't see you. The proper method for passing a truck is to check the stripes on the road, check your mirrors, signal your intention, and move into the passing lane when it is safe to do so. Complete your pass as quickly as possible. Do not attempt to move directly ahead of the truck until you can see the front of the truck in your rearview mirror. fueling vehicles is only a slight exaggeration of the collisions that mount up every day on our streets and highways, and this is one of the results. Which of these factors is responsible for the greatest number of collisions? A, mechanical failure of vehicle. B, driver error. C, poorly maintained roadways. D, roadways made dangerous by inclement weather conditions. The answer is B. More crashes can be attributed to driver error than to any of the other factors. That means that nearly all collisions caused by driver error could have been prevented. Driver error involves factors like inadequate lookout, excessive speed, improper evasive action, and driver inattention or distraction. To help prevent collisions, you have to constantly scan the road looking for anything that could represent trouble for you. We're going to put you in the driver's seat again to see how well you can identify potential driving risks. Let's cruise down one of the most challenging roads in America, a typical residential street, and see how many hazards you can identify. How many risks did you spot? I counted 8. Let's go back and see them. First, watch out for the kids because they're watching out for the ball. Hey, miss spotting that bike and your car may not miss it. Yeah, a person who stopped the car is probably about to get out, so look out. You're right, he didn't signal, but a car at an intersection is going somewhere. Better be ready for any direction. What's faster than the speeding bullet? An unleashed dog. Okay, they're thinking lawnmower. It's up to you to think safety. And you need to watch out for pedestrians, even if they're not watching out for you. Finally, if the turn indicator's on, someone's probably going to turn. You're not likely to face this many risks at once, but chances are you'll face at least one in a short trip. So don't be caught short. Pay attention. Those of us who live in Southern California are no strangers to flooded roadways. This has been a buffer year for snowfall and rainstorms all across the country, causing widespread flooding from coast to coast. When that happens, we realize that every driver needs to know how to cope with flooding, no matter what the location. Now, it's your turn. You're driving in a rainstorm. The rain has suddenly turned into a torrential downpour. Water is rushing down the road, getting deeper by the second. What is your best course of action? A, speed up and try to drive to higher ground quickly. B, slow down and drive through the water cautiously. C, pull over slowly, stop, and stay in the car until help arrives. D, pull over slowly, stop, get out of the car, and get to higher ground. The answer here is D. Get out of the car and seek higher ground. You should never attempt to drive through pools of standing water on the road because they could be deeper than they appear. Floods can erode roadways or actually displace a section of a bridge. These hazards may not be visible under the floodwater. Most cars will float for a short period, but they can be quickly swept away, and you don't want to be trapped inside. If you had to drive through a flood, a motorcycle would probably not be your first choice of vehicle. Even in good weather, out of every 100 vehicles on the road, only 3 are motorcycles. But motorists still need to learn how to share the road with motorcycles, and the place to begin is by becoming aware when motorcycles are there. Which of these statements about motorcycles is true? A car doesn't need to change lanes to pass a motorcycle. B, motorcyclists should ride with their headlight on during the day. C, motorcycles must always yield the right-of-way to cars. D, the safe following distance behind a motorcycle is 2 cycle lengths. The answer is B. Because their vehicles are less visible than cars, motorcyclists should always ride with the headlight on. A motorcycle's small size makes it more difficult to spot in traffic, so motorists must actively look for motorcycles in changing traffic conditions. Motorcycles have the same rights and must adhere to the same rules on the road as cars. When following a motorcycle, automobile drivers should follow at the same distance as they would follow a car.
Safety becomes an even bigger issue when you're sharing the road with one of these babies. School buses transport about 22 million students every day. Let's go back to Seattle for this important question. Driving on a two-lane undivided road, you see a school bus approaching from the opposite direction. As you get closer, the bus stops and you see its red lights flashing. Should you A, slow down and pass the bus carefully, B, come to a complete stop, then drive on slowly, C, stop and wait to go until the lights are no longer flashing or the bus is moving again, D, disregard the flashing lights because the bus is on the opposite side of the road? The answer is C. If you're on an undivided road, you must stop and wait until the lights are no longer flashing or the bus is moving again, regardless of what side of the road the bus is on. There could be children you can't see getting out and walking around the blind side of the bus. If you are on a divided road, you still must stop if the bus is on your side of the road. It is not necessary to stop if the school bus is across the median in the opposite lane. But you should still drive carefully because there are children around.
Concentrating on what you're doing is the key to safe driving. If you don't pay attention, you can sometimes drift off the road even when you're awake. With that in mind, here's your next question. You're driving on a two-lane highway when your right wheels drift off onto the unpaved shoulder of the road. What is the first course of action you should take to correct the situation? A, turn the steering wheel immediately to the left. B, hold the steering wheel firmly and ease off the accelerator. C, stop as quickly as possible. D, move your left wheels onto the shoulder and then quickly turn back onto the road. The answer is B. Hold the steering wheel firmly and ease off the accelerator. Then, if there is nothing in the way, steer your vehicle so it straddles the edge of the pavement. Next, turn the steering wheel up to 1/4 turn left until the front tire contacts the pavement edge. Then turn the steering wheel to go straight down the roadway. If the level of the shoulder is only slightly below the pavement, recovery is fairly easy. Recovery can be more difficult if the shoulder appears to be about 4 inches or more below the pavement. Try to follow the same procedures, but if the right front tire scrubs against the side of the pavement, do not steer more sharply to the left. If you do, the vehicle may jump back onto the road, crossing over into oncoming traffic. Instead, ease off the accelerator and steering input, straddle the pavement once more, then try again.
Sometimes what we think are the simplest driving decisions turn out to be the most challenging. For instance, you know how to make a left turn, don't you? Why don't we find out? You're pulling out of a business driveway and want to make a left turn onto a busy street. There is a special center lane for making left-hand turns. The traffic finally clears in the direction closest to you. You may turn into the center lane from the driveway, but may not drive down that lane while trying to merge. True or false? True. While it is legal to make a left turn into the special center lane, you must wait there with your right turn signal on for traffic to clear on the right before you complete your turn. When doing this, use great caution, as another car could enter that lane with the intention of making a left turn. It is not legal to drive in a shared left turn lane, and it is not safe.
I'm Deidre Hall. It took me a long time to become a parent. Now that I have David Atticus, I'm going to keep him for a long time. So next to my son, my most important possession is my child's car safety seat, which brings us to the next test question. Children under 4 years of age should always be restrained in a child's safety seat except A, when you can fit the child in your safety belt while holding him. B, while feeding a baby. C, when you're bringing a newborn baby home from the hospital for the very first time. D, there are no exceptions. The answer is D. Infants and young children should always be secured in child safety seats. All 50 states legally require this for children generally up to the age of 4. Motor vehicle accidents are the #1 killer of children up to the age of 5. Consider this. A 15-pound baby can generate a sudden force greater than 300 pounds in a crash occurring at only 30 miles an hour. Even a strong adult wearing a safety belt couldn't keep hold of the baby then. The baby would be hurled into the dashboard or the windshield. If the adult were not wearing a safety belt, both adult and baby would be thrown forward. Children should always be protected with child safety restraints. Be sure to use the proper type of seat for your child and follow the manufacturer's installation instructions. A seat that's installed incorrectly is worthless. Check your owner's manual for complete details.
Your next question deals with a situation we hope you never encounter, the deadliest of all collisions. It's early morning and you're driving down a 2-lane highway. In the distance, you see a car approaching in your lane at high speed. You think the driver might be drunk or asleep. You frantically honk your horn, but the car does not move out of your lane. A head-on collision appears imminent. What is your best course of action? A. Slow down and carefully move to the left. B. Slow down and pull off to the right. C. Stop as quickly as possible and stay in your lane, waiting for the other car to react and move back into its proper lane. D. Turn hard to the left so the oncoming vehicle will strike the side of your car instead of hitting it head-on. The answer is B. First, reduce your speed as much as possible and wait as long as possible to pull out of your lane. Then, pull as far to the right as you can. If necessary, drive clear off the road. If you have to hit something, aim for something soft such as shrubbery. Going off the road is not without risk. There is a possibility you may be injured. But in most cases, any choice is better than a head-on collision where the risk of serious injury is greater. So move to the right. In 1999, all new cars will have to come equipped with driver and passenger side airbags. That's a federal law.
The government knows about airbags, but how much do you know? Let's find out. Our last question takes us to Detroit, Michigan. These days, the Motor City makes more than just automobiles. It also manufactures airbags.
You're driving a car equipped with an airbag. In which of the following situations should you expect your airbag to deploy? There may be more than one answer. A. Your car is rear-ended by another car at about 20 miles per hour. B. You misjudge your stopping distance and your car runs into a stopped car at around 10 miles per hour. C. Your car is sideswiped by another car at about 25 miles per hour. D. Without warning, another car runs a stop sign. Your car strikes the side of the other car at 35 miles per hour. The answer is D. Airbags supplement the safety belt and are designed to inflate in moderate and severe frontal or near frontal collisions only. When used in combination with safety belts, airbags further reduce the risk of fatality in frontal or near frontal crashes. Always wear a safety belt, even if you have a car that is equipped with an airbag. Safety belts provide protection in all types of crashes, not just head-on crashes.
Hello, I'm Barbara Mandrell. Whoever said there was an exception to every rule was wrong. I know from experience. Here's one rule you should always follow. Wear your safety belt. Some people think their chances of surviving a collision increase if they're thrown from the car. Those people are mistaken. The risk of being injured or killed is 25 times greater if you're thrown from your car. Safety belts increase your chance of remaining conscious and unhurt in any crash. If you need to get out of your car quickly, you need to be conscious to do that. No matter how brief you drive, you must buckle up.
How did you do on tonight's test? If you got almost everything right, congratulations, you're a safe driver. We'd all be willing to share the road with you.
Well, if you didn't score that well, at least you now have a better idea of what you need to do. Stay alert, look ahead, and be ready for emergencies before they happen.
And remember, good driving not only protects you, it makes the road safer for everyone.
Our thanks to the many organizations who assisted us in designing this program.